let's talk about one of my favorite new cards, Venus Shuttles. Now, for some reason, the image is quite shitty, so I'll just, let's talk about it first. So it's pretty simple. It costs 9 Venus tag, and then adds 2 floaters, which I'm gonna ignore for the most part in this video. And then you can terraform Venus once every turn by paying 12 reduced by the number of tags, Venus tags that you own. So it's at most 11 because it's a Venus tag, right? So yeah, I wanted to do some math on it because I think this is by far the best continuous Venus terraformer. Yeah, the other floater ones suck. I've done a video on those, that's up there. And yeah, thermophiles and the other ones, those, all of them to me suck. This one I think it's good, and I wanted to do some math on it. And keep in mind the objective of a Venus terraformer originally was really to play Venus cards, specifically things like Venusian animals and stratospheric verts that can come down really early and just be really good, right? But I'm also not gonna consider that. So let's go over what the spreadsheet has. I have your generation, your income. Your generation is going to be your points for the most part, except in one last scenario, but yeah. Then the number of Venus tags you have, what it costs to terraform Venus tag generation based on the number of tags, the total MC, which takes into account the income you're getting from that terraforming rating, and the cost that you pay for terraforming each turn. And at the end, I'm gonna divide your total MC by the number of victory points that you get to know how much you paid per point on this car alone. Taking into account everything you paid for it, and also taking into account the income that it generated, right, and the points. So let's do one vase scenario. Let's do just one very shitty. Let's say you never get a tag. So this is your only tag. So you have one tag all game, right? So first gen is actually 23. And that's because you pay 12 for a card, 9 plus 3 to buy it, which I'm including, and then you pay 11 for the ability, and then it's 11 every turn. You get a point every turn, you end up with 10 points. Of course, your income goes up, but you're still in the hole 77 by the end of the game, and your income is you're still not making money in the end of it, right? So, needless to say, 7.7 points mega crates per point is pretty horrible, especially considering that you're paying it from early, right? You're investing the money really early. Of course, you might get to play some Venus cards, and the cost per victory point does go down every generation, obviously. But this is not a way to play it. But even then, I think this might be better than the other Venus terraformers. When you think about it, because those will give you half the points, they'll cost a lot less, but at least you terraform Venus. I don't know. Honestly not. At 11 it's not playable, 7.7, but I mean you're in the whole 50 by Gen 4, right? So you're getting 2/3 of the cost down very early, Gen 4, because it's almost 75, right? So yeah, yeah, this is obviously bad. Let's look at a more realistic scenario on the second one. Now, they're all the same. I just wanted to have them side by side. But let's say you manage to play it down with 3 tags, right? This is your third tag, which is totally something that could happen, right? These plus 2 tags in Gen 1 is not your MSI. You can do that easy. And let's say you get an additional tag every other gen, just to keep it simple. So yeah, you finish with 7. Okay, now you're getting 3.7 points a game. 3.7 MC per point. That's a very good ratio at the end of the game. That's amazing. There's pretty much no cards that have that without discounts. Yeah, even advanced ecosystems is 14, so it's 4 point something, right? It's 14 for 3 points, so it's almost 5. So 3 points, but the key thing here, remember, you're not paying these, you're not doing a down payment of 37 for 9 points in the last generation, because that would be amazing, right? You're in the hole, pretty deep. Gen 4 you hit 40, and from there on it stays about the same. So at this point, you're pretty much your income is matching what you're paying here, and it would go down more by the end of the game because you're making more. But it is a pretty heavy investment mid game, so I mean it's good for an engine game. Obviously, you wouldn't rush with these because Venus, like you're like putting $37 into Venus, 40 very early. It peaks at 45 in Gen 5, but yeah, I think you're in the whole 40 early. That's the key thing. But if you can afford it, this ratio is amazing, right? So I actually think this is like a really good scenario, and one that is not unlikely. Like finishing the game with 7 Venus tags is not crazy, and starting with 3 in the first gen is not crazy either. And so remember, you can also like pretend you played this Gen 2, for example. Sorry, yeah, Gen 2, and just imagine you get 7 points until the end of the game instead of the 9, because you go just 2 generations less. 5.5 is not terrible. So yeah, that's one way to look at this. Like you can look at if you're gonna have pretty much hit this ratio, like get 6 tags and you're in Gen 2. I think this is still doable. This is still worth it. I mean, you get 7 steps on Venus. That Venus 14%. That's not including that you might hit the bonus on the 8th step, which is that extra terraforming rating when you hit 16%. I'm not including that at all. Or the 2 floaters. I'm just that could be anything, and you want to play this card early. So I would not stop playing this card because I don't have where to put the floaters. So I just decided to keep them out of the game. But yeah. 5.5 is fine. 6.4 is kind of ugly. So this is sort of where I would cut it. But next up, I want to do a sort of like MSI hand. So MSI, as you know, it's really good for Venus. And it draws 3 Venus cards. And you probably have already some Venus cards in your hand, plus Venus Shuttles. So let's say you start with 4. And you're able, like something like Venus Governor, obviously would help you get to 4 plus attack you already have on MSI plus so 4 is not crazy. Let's say you can get for 3 straight generations 1 more, so 5, 6, 7, and then every other generation, right? 8, 8, 9, 9, and you end up with 10. So you're paying 2 at the end of the game, and one game I played with Atoma, I did pay 1 for my last terraforming rating, so I got to 11. 10 Venus tags is difficult, but I like if you go for Venus, I've seen plenty of games with it, and with the new Prelude 2 cards, like Ishtar Expedition and the Stratospheric Expedition, which like draw you Venus tags, and there's a few Preludes that do it too, is gonna be even more valuable. This ratio, like if you manage to get this hand, this card did work for you. Like you're paying 14 total for 10 points, right? 1.4 per point. It is pretty crazy. But even like as far back as Gen 5, like if this doesn't happen Gen 1, but instead much later in the game, like Gen 4, it's still worth it. Like you go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so if this was Gen 4 and the game ends here, you're still paying 5.3 per turn, getting 5 points. It's 5.3 per point. That's not bad starting. It's not like that's what you want to pay at the end of the game, but starting, I mean, that's as good as it gets. 5 per point is about as good as it gets at the end of the game. But if you have to pay them like 5 gens before, it's not terrible, right? So I mean, any scenario that's like this heavy on Venus tags, this card is absolutely broken, like for sure. Because I still consider this like a normal Venus hand scenario. I consider this like a very heavy MSI hand where you get lucky, but which will happen from time to time. But finally, let's talk about Viron. Because I did want to try with Viron and see like what would happen if they, like if you tap twice per turn. So let's just go. I'm gonna use the same text structure as this one. So you go 3 3 4 4, but I'm gonna say you start tapping twice. Yeah, here in Gen 4, you're gonna start tapping twice, right? So you're paying 16 because you're paying it twice, and you're gonna get an extra bump here. 5 5, yeah, 6 6, 7 7, and let's say you do get these points for now. Because you could go. There's 15 steps, so 9 11 13. Technically, that could happen. So you end up paying. Yeah, but let's say you get to 13. I don't think you get every step, right? So let's just say you get to 13, and so basically in this one you don't pay. No, let's just do it like this. So you don't pay in the last one. Again, you're getting 3.7. So it's the same ratio than this one, but with a lot more points. So that's still pretty good, but Viron is not. That's the main point I want to say. Viron is not as good as MSI, and you do go like MSI. You're never down more than 33. That's where it peaks, 33 in this MSI scenario, right? Which is fine. Like 33 is something you can usually tank. With Viron at that point, at one point you're down to 68 even. Because you're paying twice per turn, right? Which is, I mean, you're getting a lot of points. You're getting more points. You're getting 4 more points, but you're paying so much more, and you end up at minus 52, which again for 13 is fine, but you know. But yeah. So my conclusion is I did want to try that Viron one just because it's my favorite corp. I don't think Viron is the best one for this card. Like it's not. Usually with Viron, you get better things when the heaviest part of the cost is in paying the card. When the heaviest part of the cost like this one is in the tapping action, Viron is much worse. But even then, with a decent hand, you can like produce a lot of points. This is not probably the card I would use with Viron though. Like this is not a Viron keeper for me, but it's not terrible. And you can move up. That's the other thing. You can maybe move up really fast on Venus. Like if you get heavy tax at the beginning, let's say you have 4 tax at the beginning, so let's delete here. Say you have 4 tax at the beginning, and you want to actually like pay twice for each one. And so, income would be 2, 4, 6. I mean, you're getting 8 steps on Venus, which gets you to that bonus, and just 1 away from Stratospheric Birds. By Gen 3, you're able to play Venusian. So you can play Stratospheric Birds Gen 3. You're 1 away from Venusian Animals Gen 4, right? So if you wanted to like invest heavily into that, you can. You're obviously down a lot of cash. But you'll get those points at the end of the game. It's a horrible ratio, but the key thing here is that you're probably gonna get a beautiful ratio once you like factor in the extra points that it got you from playing Starfleet Birds earlier. But yeah. Anyway, I think that's all I have for this one. I think this is a card that in a normal scenario, which is the second one, is very very good. In a lucky scenario, is very very broken. You do have to be careful. I would say you want to make sure you can play 4 attacks. And let's actually run that scenario. Let's say you start with this is your second tag, and you're able to go 3 4 fast, and then just stay on 4. Yeah, that's about what I thought. So you get to 5.2, right? And that's not bad. That's not a great. Of course, this is if you play it throughout the game. Like if you only get 7 generations, it's a lot weaker. But yeah, if you can know you're gonna get to 4 tags like you have them in your hand and you can get them to them relatively early and you can play too early, then definitely worth it, right? 5.2 and control over the Venus track is really good. That's the other thing, like the control is really good because you can just do this whenever you want and add some cards from your hand that also draw from Venus, even though that's kind of lacing points. But this, with everyone except Viron, can only get you one per generation, and most games don't go 15, so you're okay to like throw some asteroids at Venus. But yeah, that's all I have for today. I think this card is awesome. I think it makes Venus more viable, and it's definitely probably the only playable one of the other ones, unless you have like a crazy Venus hand, and it's actually really good. But yeah, let me know what you think, and see you next time.